I recently took a road trip to a beautiful place in Maryland where eagles love to congregate. And of course, the whole way there, I'm daydreaming of capturing this amazing shot where the eagles lock talons and fall back down into the water. And luckily, I was able to do that. So how does one actually go about doing that? Well, I'm gonna show you. Come on, let's go.
Sometimes you have to get up real early to photograph birds, like 3:30 or 4 o'clock. This might be one of those times.
But I'm not the only photographer braving the early morning hours. In spite of the near freezing temperatures outside, dozens more set up their gear and eagerly wait for that magical golden light to hit the stage. Because once it does, that phenomenal show we call nature begins, and you have a front row seat to the incredible action. But some of the stars have already decided to make an appearance under the warm orange lights of the backdrop. Let's take a closer look. Dozens of winged creatures slowly glide onto the stage, the water shimmering like heated strips of metallic foil. Cormorants, eager to sample the early morning buffet, they use the rushing current to their advantage as they lazily float in the icy cold waters. A little to the left, away from the warm orange lights, and it looks like the breakfast buffet has begun as even more cormorants start pulling fish from the waters below. Directly above them, in a flurry of white dusty feathers and a loud cacophony of squawks, hordes of hungry gulls fill the air and compete for food at the base of this towering structure. Conowingo Dam, a 94-foot-tall hydroelectric generating station that inadvertently churns out an almost constant flow of fish. And this cormorant, who appears to be avoiding eye contact, has scored a massive shad from the dam. And this large catch isn't something you want to advertise, because high in the naked tree branches above sits the area's apex predator, the bald eagle. And as this bird perches high among the twisted trees, it is intently aware of everything going on below. An eagle's vision is so astoundingly accurate and precise that it can see a fish from approximately 1.5 miles or 3 kilometers away. Very little, if anything at all, escapes this magnificent bird's piercing gaze. The cormorant instinctively keeps its catch low as it cautiously eyes the area. The eagle might be hungry, but it has chosen to wait a bit longer for breakfast, and as the sun adds some amazing colors to the sky, the photographers double-check their gear and settings. The swirling mist that clings to the surface of the water slowly takes on the golden color of the rising sun, and the leaves from this year's trees graciously bow out of the performance. A single gull touches down on the shimmering, vibrant waters as the cry of a nearby eagle signals the start of the show. As that brilliant early morning light bounces off the surface of the water, an experienced adult bald eagle swoops in, talons poised and at the ready. The eagle dips its toes into the cold water and somehow manages to pluck a large fish from just below the surface. The weight of the fish slows the bird's speed and causes its entire body to fall forward, where it misses an ice-cold plunge by just mere inches. And as the cascade of water droplets launches into the air, this experienced bird exits the stage with a well-deserved meal. Another adult comes swooping in, its tail just barely skimming the surface of the water, its big meaty legs brandishing razor-sharp talons over 2 inches long, and as the bird appears to stand frozen on the surface of the water, the early morning light illuminates its chest feathers as it ever so graciously plucks a fish from the surface, sending a shower of twinkling water droplets into the air. The sound of dozens of camera shutters ringing out in unison as the photographers fire away, hoping to capture that magical moment in time. The bird, seeming to not even know that they exist, continues on its flight path, and as it moves over a darker area of water, the early morning sun paints the bird's wingtips with a splash of strong light, and the bird's brilliant eyes appear as vibrant jewels, catching the light of the rising sun. Simply incredible. One more adult bird spots the action from much higher in the sky, its higher position in the sky catching more of the early morning light and revealing an intricate pattern of interwoven feathers, its big meaty legs dropping down as its talons appear to curl tightly into a fist. As it falls from the sky and enters the strike zone, it lines up for the catch, its intense stare feeding its brain an incredible amount of detailed information as it moves closer to its target. And as it spreads its wing and tail feathers in order to slow its approach on the slick runway, it readies the landing gear. With talons at the ready, this majestic feather-covered creature snatches a fish from the surface of the water like it's the simplest task in the world. Meanwhile, Dozens of photographers silently cheer and smile at the morning action. But this day has only just begun, and the hordes of hungry eagles perched on the far side of the river are eager to take part in the action too. While the eagles' early morning antics were in full swing, all of the cormorants and gulls in the area decided to take things easy for a bit. The black vultures in the area demonstrate just how graceful they can be when they make a critical landing error, and a juvenile black vulture looks for scraps among the fallen leaves. High in the trees above sits the star of the show, the majestic bald eagle. Being the apex predator has its perks. With a belly full of fresh fish, this bird doesn't mind sitting back and watching the world go by as the cool autumn breeze makes the leaves dance and dozens of photographers snap pics. The eagles almost seem to perform at this location, and they seem to really love showing off their impressive 2-meter wide wingspan. If you happen to miss one pass, they're often generous enough to come by again, and when they bank hard and go vertical like this, you really get a good understanding of just how big these amazing birds really are. Simply astounding. Back down on the water, and something has gotten the attention of the gulls as they come out in full force to investigate. One of the dam's spillways has been opened, and thousands of liters of water come rushing out. The rushing water is like a dinner bell, and the cormorants are eager to line up for a belly full of fish. The gulls, they seem to be in need of some air traffic control as they frantically circle above the water while the cormorants are busy gulping down tiny fish below. All of this commotion has not gone unnoticed, and quite suddenly, the sky is filled with eagles. Things are about to get very interesting. First on the scene is this beautiful, immature young eagle, and as it flies in among the busy backdrop of gulls, it spots a fish in the water below, banks, and slowly comes in for the strike. It readies its talons and misses a tiny fish. A little further in the back, and a juvenile appears to grab something, but the young bird stares at its talons, questioning its catch. Meanwhile, an adult bald eagle uses the wind to its advantage as it slowly comes in to watch. Our immature bird, not quite ready to give up, tries once again, and once again it comes up empty-taloned, while an adult comes off the surface of the water far out in the back, and in its talons is a tiny fish. The fish is so small that it isn't even worth landing for. Instead, the adult swallows the fish whole in midair. Our young adult tries once again, and this time it scores a tiny fish, and as soon as it does, a juvenile comes flying in full speed, but changes its mind at the last second and shoots high into the sky, where it gets a much better view of the action below. From this vantage point, nothing goes unnoticed. The bird doesn't have to put much effort into flying, and it can drop in unannounced and undetected. Speaking of dropping in, when you see an eagle in the sky that looks like this, you know the bird is coming in for some action. Its eyes locked onto some unsuspecting target below. The wings out to slow the descent, those massive meaty legs at the ready as the eyes stay locked on the prize. The bird shifts as its wingspan turns vertical, slowing the bird down even more so that it can pinpoint its target. The bird now upside down as it drops even further from the sky. It banks a little, giving us an impressive look at every single feather on its back. This is what a bald eagle looks like on its final approach. The bird's massive wingspan at its widest, its legs poised and ready, and on the bird's face, a look of menacing intent. It reaches out with its powerful legs, the angle of the bird's penetrating stare still high, and as the stare angles downward, those razor-sharp talons open wide in anticipation of a catch. And for a brief moment in time, the eagle looks like it's frozen in ice as it stands on the surface of the water, its beautiful wings slowing the bird and giving it lift. It breaks free from the water, leaving a splash in its wake. Was its effort all in vain? Not at all. This eagle has scored a nice black crappie, and as it ascends higher into the sky, it fans out its tail feather and pulls its catch up close to its body. No need to advertise a fish here when there are so many hungry eagles in the area. With a subtle change in its wings, the bird sets its sights on some faraway perch as it ascends higher in the sky. And just when it looks like this bird is going to make a nice peaceful retreat, our juvenile that was soaring high in the sky drops in unannounced. The chase is on as both birds pick up speed. The adult bird tries to shake the juvie by flying down and to the left, but this only slows the adult bird down, and that's when the juvenile reaches in for the steal, but misses. The adult bird manages to keep its hard-earned meal, But this juvenile bird can't give up. It must feed if it wants to survive. Down below, a cormorant has surfaced with a nice, tasty catfish. No time for celebration here as a gull swoops in, forcing the cormorant back down. And our juvenile eagle is at it again as it attempts to steal a fish from another adult, but once again it misses. Fueled by hunger, the juvenile reaches in once again and misses by just a few inches. Down below, another cormorant has surfaced with a tasty catfish. This bird is lucky though, because no other birds have spotted it yet, and it quickly swallows its catch whole. A little further out, another cormorant is not so lucky as it takes its catch for a bird's eye view of the area. Feeling the pressure from its incoming pursuer, it decides to make a landing, and as it slides in on its belly, its pursuer vanishes under the surface of the water. Victory for this cormorant. Or not, as its pursuer makes a surprise appearance, sending the chase down into the murky depths below. Once again, our juvenile bald eagle is in hot pursuit as it closes in on yet another adult, and in desperation, it reaches for the adult's fish and misses. Another adult spots a fish below and comes in for the strike. The desperate and hungry juvie spiraling above spots the adult, drops its feet, and silently comes in low. The adult grabs its fish with both sets of talons, casually scans the waterscape, and when it sees no competition, it loosens its grip on its catch before ascending higher into the sky. The vast majority of cormorants and gulls have parked themselves on the warm boulders that line the other side of the river as a calmness falls over the area. The eager photographers are lulled into a tranquil state of bliss as the adult eagle ascends high, but this lull in the action is merely the calm before the storm, a storm that is about to unleash 8 razor-sharp talons as our juvenile eagle surprises the adult from underneath. The adult, feeling the pressure from the juvenile, decides to lighten the load and drops its catch. The juvie, not prepared to make yet another mistake, grabs the fish in mid-air and then glances back at its talons in total disbelief. The young bird glances up at the adult and then quickly exits stage right as another adult just casually swoops in and grabs a fish from the surface of the water. But strangely, none of the younger birds fly in to challenge the adult. That's because they have locked on to a different adult higher in the sky, and this time, 2 juvenile eagles give chase. With one bird right on its tail and another coming in from below, the adult tries its best to lose its pursuers. And with one young bird dangerously close, the adult lowers its feet and drops its catch. And for one brief moment in time, all 3 birds appear lined up in the frame, each one in a different position as the fish literally hangs in the air. And when gravity brings that fish back down to the water, the fight continues. Only this time, the adult is giving chase. And as the adult swoops in and passes into the shadow of the juvenile bird, it reaches its talons out for the steal. The juvenile bird reaches in and locks talons with its pursuer, and in doing so, drops its fish. The 2 birds now locked in some primal tug-of-war as they fly further away from the dropped fish. But that dropped fish isn't going to be wasted. The 3rd bird in the chase flies in and easily picks it up, and because the other 2 are far too busy fighting, this bird flies away with the prize. And just when I think things can't possibly get any more intense, I catch a glimpse of 2 adult eagles heading right towards each other. I raise my A7RIV to the sky and hit record the moment the 2 birds collide, and watch in total disbelief as they lock talons and come spiraling back down to earth, ending their embrace just mere milliseconds before crashing into the water below. Was this an aggressive tangle of talons and feathers, or a beautifully choreographed aerial dance? A great blue heron appears to ponder this question as the wind shakes the remaining leaves from the trees, but the eagles of Conowingo Dam are the only ones who know the real answer, and from the looks of things, I think they'll be keeping that to themselves. I had such a great time in Maryland with all of the eagles, and it was really nice to meet everybody down there. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and saying hi. That was incredible to meet all of you, exchange some stories, and learn about some of the local stuff. And thanks to everybody who actually told me some of the better spots and better times and some of the behavior to look out for. That was really helpful. And without all of that knowledge, none of this would have actually worked. So all of you out there that are watching this, you should probably thank all of those people, even though you don't know them. And a special thanks to Billy. Billy, thanks for giving me all of the information and hooking me up with your friend there. That was super useful. If you'd like to come with me on an Eagle workshop, I offer Eagle workshops in the state of Washington. It's a great experience. I'll put a link to that in the description and then right somewhere on the screen here. And did you have a favorite part of this video? Boy, it's tough. There were so many good things that happened. Of course, the tangling of the talons there and locking talons and falling to the ground or to the water was amazing. But the one thing I really was curious about is, because I saw this happen a lot, was when the one adult eagle dropped the fish and the juvenile grabbed it in midair. I saw that happen a bunch. And I tend to think that maybe that was a training exercise. So instead of the adult feeding the baby, maybe the adult was flying in and saying, hey, if you want some food, you actually have to work for it. I'm gonna make you work for it really hard. Because they would always do this and drop it like at the last second for no reason, and the juveniles would catch it in midair. So what do you think? Is that what's happening, or is it just more of a, hey, I'm hungry and I'm young, I'm just gonna come try to steal that fish from you? Let me know in the comments below. If you thought this video was cool or you liked it in any way, share it. That's always very helpful. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that, because I have a ton of content coming up. I'm gonna be shooting some Sony cameras, some Canon cameras, maybe some Nikon cameras too. I have the Z6 II here, I'm trying it out. So if you'd like to see any of that stuff, subscribe and click that little bell. If you haven't clicked the thumbs up, go ahead and do that. God, there's so much stuff I have to ask everybody to do. It's hard to remember it all. And of course, comment. I like reading through the comments and seeing what everybody said. And until next time, I'll see you later.